radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Good evening. Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah. How you doing? It's Monday. That's right. It's Fade to Black. What an amazing weekend we had in our community. And we arrived to September 17th, 2018, 264 days into the new year. Just 101 days left. I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. We are live from a bunker somewhere in the middle of beautiful downtown Burbank, California. And I'd like to welcome everybody. East and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the Planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? I hope you had a great weekend. Rita and I went down to San Diego. Literally, I posted one picture on Twitter. One. We just totally relaxed, disengaged, no social media, nothing. Turn the phones off, and there you go. So we're here. We're back. We've got an amazing week lined up here on Fade to Black. Tonight, Linda Moulton Howe is here to discuss the recent closing of the National Solar Observatory by the FBI and her excellent coverage on that. Of course, I posted an interview that I did with Ransom Godwin over the weekend, who courageously went up onto the grounds in the compound up there and shot some video. And so I was able to reach out to Ransom, and the interview was amazing, and we've got that up. And you can go and check that out. So that happened over the weekend. And I think we posted the video. I think I did that with Ransom on Friday, right? Yeah, I did that on Friday. So there you go. It's just been an amazing weekend. And Linda has been doing her coverage on it. So she is here. And we will be talking about that at the bottom of the hour. Tomorrow night, right here on Fade to Black, Freeman is here. Last week, Rita and I went and watched Don Peyote. And if you haven't seen Don Peyote, maybe after the show tonight, go and watch Don Peyote. Watch the movie. Freeman he's really good. And he downplayed his role in the film. He's excellent. He's in a bunch of scenes there. So anyway, we watched that last week and had nothing to do with Freeman being on the show. Isn't that weird how synchronicity works? But tomorrow night, Freeman now, he just goes by one name. Freeman will be with us. And then Wednesday night, it's been a while. Clifford Stone is back, and he's here to talk about disclosure. And it may not be what you think. And he's got some documents. We're going to do all of that, and that's kicking off on Wednesday night. Thursday is another Fader night with open lines all night long. John Rappaport, of course, is going to be here. with his No More Fake Newsroom Live. All right. Now, I've been on all of the social media sites over the weekend and today with all of this National Solar Observatory breaking news that has been going on. Took a little bit. I mean, we first covered it at the beginning of the week last week. The mainstream media eventually did pick it up. I think even CNN had it yesterday or maybe the day before. Of course, it was covered in Fox and RT and so forth, but it was all over the web. And I had to stay on top of social media the best that I could because of it just everywhere that you can think, everybody was covering it. Luckily, not only do we have Linda in New Mexico, but aside from that, we were able to reach out to so many people that were there on location. And on top of that, I got the story broken to me from somebody that was up there right after the closure happened, and it wasn't in the media yet. So now also, maybe tomorrow, it might be Wednesday night, but a friend of ours and a friend of yours had an airplane crash in his backyard today. Yeah, literally. And things are a little bit hectic right now, a little bit dramatic, but we will have, I don't want to say what it is. I just want him to have his privacy right now, but he's going to be on with us maybe tomorrow night to talk about that. Pretty incredible to see what he went through. So that'll be tomorrow night. Anyway, follow us on Twitter at JChurchRadio. At JChurchRadio, that's on Twitter. Hashtag F2B is the sandbox, and hashtag F2BQ is Fade to Black questions. You can also email me throughout the show, Jimmy@JimmyChurchRadio.com. Okay, breaking news. The National Solar Observatory reopened today with a statement released from Aura about the FBI evacuation. I posted the statement today over at OnStellar, onstellar.com. You can go and read the full statement over there. I mentioned earlier I interviewed Ransom Godwin, who shot the video of the empty compound. I spoke with him earlier today, and he said, as of last night, they made this announcement yesterday, this statement that they were going to reopen. They went out there last night, and the entire site was still empty and no security there at all. They sent me some drone footage. I didn't know that there was that many houses up there of the empty streets. Pretty much still the same. It's a ghost town, but they did reopen today, and a security guard up there was spoken to as well. And I think Linda is going to have some more information on that shortly. Other breaking news, Coca-Cola is considering a move into the growing market for cannabis-infused drinks. That's right. Coke said in a statement today that it is closely watching the growth of CBD, that right, the non-psychoactive component in marijuana, as an ingredient in what it called functional wellness beverages. Coca-Cola is in talks with Aurora Cannabis, a Canadian company. Aurora has also expressed interest in cannabis drinks. Constellation Brands, the makers of Corona Beer, Svedka Vodka, and Casa Noble Tequila, announced last month that they were investing $4 billion in the Canadian cannabis company Canopy Growth. CBD, marijuana, all of it is here. It's pretty crazy, isn't it? It's pretty crazy. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast, just $2 a month. Click on the podcast banner over at JimmyChurchRadio.com. You can also become a Fade or Not over in our membership section of the site. That's simple enough to do. And don't forget to visit all of our sponsors at JimmyChurchRadio.com by clicking on their banners. I do want to make a quick announcement that we are moving forward. We will have some more information over the next couple of days, but the Area 52 night vision binoculars, calling them Deep Blue, the Jimmy Church model, is going to be available. Now, what, when, and where. Just stay tuned with us over the next week or so, maybe about 2 weeks. We will have all the information up that you need. But I'm very, very excited. I can't get into any other details than that. Let's get this show cracking. Our dead guy's birthday today is John Ritter, 1948 to 2003. Yeah, there was Three's Company, and I get that. But he also made the greatest UFO documentary film ever. That's right, Real Men. And he made that back in 1987. And if you haven't seen that movie, Real Men with Jim Belushi and John Ritter, right there, 1987. On September 11th, strangely enough, 2003, he started having heart problems. And he was rehearsing right here in Burbank. He began sweating, vomiting, chest pains. He was taken across the street to the Providence St. Joseph Medical Center in Burbank. By coincidence, the same hospital where he was born, and both of our daughters were born at St. Joseph's right here, by coincidence. And that's where he was born. Physicians misdiagnosed Ritter, treated him for a heart attack, but things got worse. They diagnosed Ritter with having an aortic dissection, a tear in the aorta that grows. He died during surgery to repair it 6 days before his 55th birthday. On this day in history, OTD, 1976, NASA publicly unveils for the first time the Space Shuttle. That's right, the Space Shuttle Enterprise on this day in 1976. Fader fact, the word oxymoron is itself an oxymoron. This is because it derives from ancient Greek, where oxy means sharp, and moros, which means stupid. Think about that the next time you hear someone using the word trying to sound smart. Think about that. Now, also on this day in history, it's a big day. That's right. I'm bringing on Curtis Don Vito, the lead singer of Snoo, because, Curtis, today your new album is released, and I'm holding it up to the cameras right there. How you doing?
Hey, man. Yes, it's out there, baby.
Yes, it is. I'm holding it up, and there it is. It's amazing. I've had it for a little bit. I got the sneak preview. But it's a great CD, man.
Oh, thanks. Thanks, yes.
Where can everybody...
You've got some nerve.
You've got some nerve.
We're making some real statements there with that one.
Where can everybody...
In light of everything oxymoronic.
Yeah, right. Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Where can everybody go and get it? I've got mine. Where can everybody go and get theirs?
Well, you can go to our website, snooU.com, or you can go to snoostore.com, or you can find it on iTunes and Amazon and pretty much anywhere.
Now, my the opening track on this, "You Are Freaking Me Out," is right there. But the other tracks on this, like "Holy Hell," which is really good. Do you have a favorite track right now? Do you go back and listen to stuff after you do it?
Well, yeah. We definitely go back and make sure that we definitely want to put it out there to the world. So, I can't say which one. Every day it's a different one. It's like, it's "You're Freaking Me Out." Well, maybe it's "A Settling Queen." Maybe it's, it spin the roulette wheel. Yeah, I'm with you on that. And it's classic Snoo. But one of the things that I love about you guys, and you and I have talked about this, but you guys are all about the rock and roll, right? You're about guitar, bass, and drums. Well, that's what I'm saying. And this weekend, Curtis, Rita, and I, we went out of town, and we relaxed, and we were listening to music, and we were hanging out with some friends. And one of the things that we talked about is I'm not so sure if kids today understand what it's like to emotionally freak out when you see a band perform live, or when you hear, or when you hear
an album that was a band in the studio playing as a band. I'm not taking away from the electronic stuff that goes on today. That's fine. But but that's what you guys.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, that's what you guys are about.
It's that human element that's being stripped away from music. Everything's got to be perfect now. And it's all digitally mixed and manipulated and moved around in the computer so that every beat is exactly perfect. And I can appreciate that, but the human element is stripped away. And as musicians, the music breathes. You listen to some of the live stuff that's still going on. I mean, it's not dead.
Right.
But when you listen to the older stuff, it's like, it's not perfect computer rhythms. It moves and it takes you along for a ride, and it breathes just like you do. I love that stuff. So, when we're recording, we don't play any tricks. We get in and we play it live.
Well, as a singer, when I listen to this and I hear the way that you do that, do you go in and pick your stuff apart and like replace words or replace syllables, or do you sing entire lines and just try to get everything there because of the feeling?
Well, what we usually do is I'll do at least 3 takes. I'll do it the way it was written, then I'll do it another way, and I'll change a few things just to see, and then I'll listen to that, and I'll go, okay, let me try this, and then we'll listen to everything down and go, yeah, let's go back to the original way. It's usually what happens. But sometimes you strike gold, and, so you get in there and you utilize the studio for what it is. You got the ability to do multiple takes, so we go for it.
Well, and see, I think that's one of the tools that people have today is, Pro Tools and digital editing, and now it has become a crutch. That so many, they don't go and learn the whole song. They're not even worried about that. They know that they can go in and do a gazillion takes and then turn around and just piece all of this stuff together and then use
then they auto-tune it.
Right.
Yeah.
And
you don't have to be a great singer. You could just, auto-tune and, you're perfect.
That's right. And so they don't practice anymore. They're not even going to the studio prepared. The studio is a place for them to just go and assemble and not necessarily perform.
It's a producer's game now. They just bring whoever they want to be the face, and the producer pretty much takes it from there. I think that's why a lot of popular stuff now, is it all sounds the same because there's like 1 or 2 producers producing all those acts, and they're writing the songs.
I saw this was last year. I think it was Rita corrected me on it was Beyonce. So Beyonce releases this song last year, and that had all of like 8 words in the entire song, right? 8 words. 50 producers.
Really?
50 producers. 50.
Oh my God.
Now I don't know.
Really?
I don't know what you have to do today to get your name on somebody's track as a producer.
I know.
It
begs the question: does she need that much help?
Well, it just doesn't that make you wonder? I mean,
I don't want to be critical. I know that Beyonce's got a lot of fans, but does she need that much help?
Well, I guess the periods and the apostrophes and the commas all get producer credits, right? They all get producer credits. So now, what are you guys touring? What's the plans?
Yeah, in a couple of months we're going to be heading to the UK, and we're going to do a trek around there.
You're gonna everything booked, ready to go?
Yeah, well they're still adding dates, so we'll know when we get there.
Yeah, I know how that can go. Graham Bonnet tweeted out today that he just got back from his 3 or 4 weeks over in the UK. And he's immediately, he's heading over to Japan to play with Michael Schenker in MSG. And
oh, awesome!
Yeah, I know,
wow,
right?
Those guys are back together.
Yeah. Well, I did.
Yeah. Well, you know, we're playing Michael Shaker. We're festival. We're playing in Wales. Shaker's playing. I wonder if Graham's going to be there.
Yeah. Wow. Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
Well, you know, Graham.
If I run into Graham, I'll mention you.
Well, I reached out to him today, which reminds me. Okay, I want to back up. I remember we were talking about being prepared in the studio today. Right now, it's this Pro Tools world, and nobody rehearses. But there were times when I would go into a studio, and the singers, or the band that's practiced and rehearsed, they go in, they get their stuff done. It's a job, and they prepare and they write. And singers that prepare, you can tell. They come in, they know what they want to do. And I remember Ronnie Dio cutting these tracks, and I'm listening to him from outside of the studio door, just blasting through like the whole song and going, okay, let's play that back. I'm going to double a couple of tracks. Let's go through. Okay, boom, 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 all in order. Right, he's doubling these parts he wants to double. Okay, let's go back. Let's do harmonies, and so the song is 5 minutes long. He was done. I mean, he was done with everything in like 30 minutes. And I remember him walking out. I might be exaggerating. It might have been 32 minutes, but he comes out of the studio and he goes, "Let's have dinner." And it's like, he's there to work, right? To get it done.
Oh, yeah. Well, you could tell. Yeah.
Is that
that guy's always nailed it. You know that he put the work in and all the effort it took to be that great.
Well, that's the way I hear it from you on this record. Do you work the same way?
Well, yeah. I mean, how else are you going to be able to nail it? I mean, I don't want to go in there and waste anybody's time when we're recording.
Right.
Right. I get in there, and what we usually do is, the whole band will be in there for basic tracks. We'll lay it down live, and then we'll come in after that. We'll do some overlays and things, and then eventually I'll get to do my real vocal track. At that point, it's what's called scratch vocal. And if those guys want to run down a song 10 times, I'm singing the whole time.
It's so true, because the other side for me is when I watch your live videos and you guys are there I mean, from the word go, you guys live are as impressive as what the albums are, which says to me that you guys went in, cut these albums ready to go. The songs are ready to go. And when you're going out live, you hear that. You hear that the band is there for the audience, and they're there to impress. And that's what I get out of Snoo. And I'm not joking around about this.
Well, thank you. It's nice to hear. I appreciate that.
But
you're right. Yeah. I mean, we definitely want to give everything we have to the audience. I mean, we do it for ourselves. We love it. But you know what? When they're feeling it, then we feel it twice as much.
Well,
so we're giving it to the audience, and then they give it back, and then it just spins around in a big circle, and it's this giant ball of energy, and everybody's just high on music. It's awesome.
Rita just said we're going to have a karaoke night over at the house, and so you're invited.
Yeah. Does that get to hear you say?
No. Yeah. You know what? Maybe you and I can do the Righteous Brothers together. We'll do like Unchained Melody.
All right.
Hey, Curtis, thank you so much, my friend. And again, everybody can go to snooyou.com. Where else?
You can find us on Amazon and iTunes and Spotify and any place you want to go.
It's an amazing record, man. Congratulations. It sounds it's everything that rock and roll should be, and I love the rock and roll. And Curtis, thank you so much. And there's another part of this, everybody. This is so much for our community. Just go and listen to the words, and where Curtis comes from and where his mind is. And this is for our community. It's just really well done. Thank you so much, Curtis.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Have a great night, my friend. Okay?
You too, brother.
There's nothing like the CD release day. Are you guys having a party tonight somewhere? What do you guys?
I'm partying with you right now, and all the Fadernauts.
I'm surprised.
This is a huge party.
I'm surprised you're not.
All day, all night. It's just you've got some nerve party for us.
I'm surprised you're not down at the Rainbow. All right. I'll talk.
Well, maybe later.
I'll talk to you. Curtis, man, congratulations, my friend.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Curtis. Yeah, thank you so much, Curtis. Curtis Don Vito from SNU. The album just released today. It is called You've Got Some Nerve, and you can find it everywhere. There it is, SNU. You've Got Some Nerve. All right, now coming up in a couple of minutes, I'm going to get out of here. Linda Moulton Howe is going to be here. Our community has had some of the most dramatic stuff happen to it this past week with the closure and the evacuation of the National Solar Observatory. I've posted video of somebody that went up there and shot the empty streets, a virtual ghost town. A couple of things that Ransom Godwin, that he was up when he was up there that I thought were so intriguing. One, the workshop was left open, garage door, tools, everything just out, no security anywhere. That's the first thing, and I found that very, very strange. He said he also felt that it was sanitized. It was too clean. All the windows were clean. The floors were mopped. You could see footprints in the freshly mopped floors. And then at the end of one of the hallways in the laboratory, on the top of the trash can is a video game, The X-Files. Now, was this some kind of clue? Was this a joke? It was definitely done for a reason, right? Think about that. Well, all of that brought this community into asking some of the craziest questions that had to be asked. There was also some disinformation and other stuff that was going on out there on the web. All right, and we're going to discuss all of that tonight with Linda Moulton Howe. Lots more to cover with Linda as well. You know how it is when Linda is on Fade to Black. So we're going to do all of that tonight. I'll be right back. Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA The Planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. And I'll be right back with our guest, Linda Moulton Howe. Stay with me.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on JimmyChurchRadio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black Blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at jimmychurchradio.com.
Times are changing. The circus of politics, healthcare's low standards and high prices, and let's not forget food quality. What to do? Arm yourself with Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. In a world of chemical imbalance and poor air and water quality, it's time you make a move. Log on to getthetea.com and stock up on organic non-GMO supplements. Don't forget the tea. Cleansing your body never felt so good. And we have a brand new tea called Takedown Tea, which helps support healthy glucose. All natural body support so you can be at your best, naturally. All you have to do is log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. We're not a fad that comes and goes. We are the real deal. Join us and armor up. Getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Changing America's health one tea bag at a time.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Do you want to lose weight but have no idea where to begin? The Fast Start Diet, a 3-day weight loss plan, is the answer. 3 days of nutritionally balanced, calorie-restricted meals delivered right to your door. No shopping, no measuring, and no cooking. Everything is prepared for you and ready to eat at home or on the go. The Fast Start Diet has all the amazing benefits of intermittent fasting without starving. We've helped thousands of people who have struggled to reach their weight loss goals. Isn't it time we helped you? With the Fast Start Diet, you'll lose weight and feel great.
Find Fast Start Diet on Amazon or go to faststartdiet.com and use promo code TALK to get 10% off your first box. And as a special bonus, Fast Start will include their #1 rated Lipo3 appetite suppressant spray free with your order. This is Jimmy Church. And whatever your diet plans are, do what I did. Go to faststartdiet.com.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black, I'm your host, Jimmy Church. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. You can follow Linda at Earth Files on Twitter. It's right there. We've got all the links up. Come and join the conversation. Hashtag F2B. We're going to burn through 4,000 tweets tonight. And come over and join the conversation. Any questions or comments during the show? Hashtag F2BQ. Tonight, we're going to discuss the sudden closure and evacuation of the National Solar Observatory. And with Linda, the conversation will go anywhere, so I promise you we will do that too. The observatory was partially reopened today. What was the real reason behind it? And will we ever have the truth? We'll find out tonight from Linda, who is a graduate of Stanford University with a master's degree in communication. She has devoted her documentary, film, television, radio, and writing and reporting career to productions concerning science, medicine, and the environment. She has received 3 regional Emmys, a National Emmy nomination, and a Station Peabody Award. And, of course, there is earthfiles.com, her own radio program with John Burroughs on KGRA. She is on Coast to Coast AM, Ancient Aliens, since its first season. And she has traveled to, you ready, Linda? Venezuela, Peru, Brazil, England, Norway, France, Switzerland, the Netherlands, Yugoslavia, Turkey, Ethiopia, Kenya, Egypt, Australia, Japan, Canada, Mexico, the Yucatan, and Puerto Rico. And she's also got a new show on Gaia called Truth Hunters. And I would like to welcome back to Fade to Black, the one and only Linda Moulton Howe. Linda, good evening.
Hey, Jimmy, thank you. And I'm glad that we can focus some attention on this strange story, this being now the 12th night from September 6th, when the very first stories where most of us were not aware, because this was a creeping story. This started with the FBI coming in on September 6th, closing down the National Solar Observatory at Sunspot that sits at 9,200 feet on Sacramento Peak up, looking down onto White Sands and Holloman Air Force Base, two highly sensitive areas in the United States. And by the 7th, the 8th, the 9th, the 10th, the 11th, so we're going about a week. It took a week for rumors to start penetrating the public psyche, first in social media and then starting in emails. And on the 12th, one of the most interesting things as background to where we're headed with what's happening now is what the Otero County Sheriff said to the local Alamogordo newspaper about the fact that he knew that the FBI had come in and closed down the observatory, and there were rumors that they had closed down the post office, but there now is great controversy about whether it had already been closed down for some other reason before the FBI closed down the observatory, another one of those moving factors. But nevertheless, here is what the Otero County Sheriff, Benny Howe, had to say to the media on around the 12th of September, a week ago. Quote, "The FBI is refusing to tell us what's going on. We've got people up there at Sunspot that requested us to stand by while they evacuated. Nobody would really elaborate on any of the circumstances as to why. The FBI were up there. What their purpose was, nobody will say. But for the FBI to get involved that quick and be so secretive about it, there was a lot of stuff going on. There was a Black Hawk helicopter. Mm-hmm. This is the sheriff now. Mm-hmm. A bunch of people around antennas and work crews on towers, but nobody would tell us anything, meaning the sheriff's office. The FBI wanted the sheriff there while they were shutting it down, but they wouldn't even tell the sheriff what was going on. The sheriff continued, "They wanted us up there to help evacuate, but nobody would tell us anything. We went up there and everything was no threat. Nobody would identify any specific threat. We hung out for a little while when we left. No reason for us to be there. Nobody would tell us what we were supposed to be watching." Okay, now, that was the sheriff. When you jump to what it was that the what's called the AURA, this is the Association for Research in Astronomy that is supposed to have managed the observatory, and the only quote that they put out back then at that time was saying something that was like, this is only a security issue, and they kept repeating the words, a security issue, and that was all that reached out from AURA. And people were so frustrated because they weren't getting any specific information. And that's when, within a very short period of time after AURA put out a know-nothing press release that, here I have it, quote, "The Association of Universities for Research in Astronomy, who manages the facility, is addressing a security issue at this time. We have decided to vacate the facility as precautionary measure. It was our decision to evacuate the facility," and that was the fulsome press release back then. Okay, so now, why this started becoming the international story that it did is because after that list, within probably a day, I started getting emails coming from all over the world, literally, saying that half a dozen solar observatories in both the northern and the southern hemisphere had been shut down. It was a conspiracy. Something was happening on the sun that the world was not supposed to see. And I'm reading these emails and thinking, number one, if something's happening on the sun, if you black out 6 observatories on the Earth, it doesn't mean anything. There are over 1,000. There would be all kinds of telescopes that would be focused on something. Shutting down 6 didn't make any sense. So I asked my colleague, Peter Lavenda, if he would do some checking on what was the state of solar observatories on planet Earth in the northern and the southern hemispheres on September 12th. And he went through and sent me direct quotes from 6, 7, 8 of the solar observatories. There was not a single one where there was any kind of a problem except that noted at Sunspot, New Mexico, where the FBI had closed it down for security reasons. Now, by that time, that night, I started receiving a bunch of, there are 800 UFOs parked around the sun, and the world is trying to keep people from seeing it, and it got crazier and crazier, and it was clearly people taking advantage of a story that was beginning to run with rapid legs and make hysterical headlines so that they could make some money on the clicks to their websites. There's no question that that is what started happening with those crazy headlines. Mm-hmm. Well, let's jump back to a reality check on what were some of the interesting emails that might have something to do with what actually occurred that had the FBI come in on September 6th. Here is one I'm reading directly. I heard this theory that some days before the closing of the observatory on September 6th, a person got mad at the observatory and possibly made threats to them because the observatory was going to be shut down. This guy was concerned about jobs that would be lost because of all the business the observatory brought to this small town. As a footnote, on a yearly basis, in terms of a census for Sunspot, New Mexico, the number is 70 on the census. And so those would be probably just people working at the observatory. And as I read this, thinking, and another email came and said, I live in this area, and I heard there was a bomb threat at the observatory, which sounded like this other email. Now, here again, is this rational? If there was somebody who was upset that the observatory was going to be closed down and those 70 jobs would have to go someplace else, why would they blow up or threaten to blow up the very institution that they are arguing that they want to see stay there for jobs? Right. And this is the way this story has gone, turning right, turning left, turning upside down, nothing really, really making sense. And then when you get to yesterday at 5:30 p.m., I got the release from AURA, the Association of Universities for Research in Astronomy. They're based in Washington, D.C. This is the only second comment that they have made since the very first one on September 6th, which didn't say anything. This is much longer, and I think it is worth at least going into some of it, because this is the current official authority, and then we'll talk about the people who are up there looking at the entire site through drones and walking around today. But here is as of 5:30 p.m. Mountain Time yesterday, Sunday. This is what came to me at earthfiles.com in an email. Quote, Sunspot Solar Observatory is transitioning back to regular operations as of September 17th, and that would be after being closed for 12 days from September 6th. And then it says, quote, on September 6th, the Association of Universities for Research in Astronomy, AURA, and the National Science Foundation, NSF, made the decision to temporarily vacate the Sunspot Solar Observatory at Sacramento Peak, New Mexico, as a precautionary measure while addressing a security issue. The facility closed down in an orderly fashion and is now reopening. The residents that vacated their homes will be returning to the site, and all employees will return to work this week. Aura has been cooperating with an ongoing, this is quote, an ongoing law enforcement investigation of criminal activity that occurred at Sacramento Peak. And that occurred means something specific that is not stated, and a criminal activity that occurred at Sacramento Peak. During this time, we became concerned that a suspect in the investigation potentially posed a threat to the safety of local staff and residents. For this reason, Aura temporarily vacated the facility and ceased science activities at this location. Is that threat the bomb threat or the potential attack in those two emails that I read from just a few minutes ago? This does not go into detail, but it continues. The decision to vacate was based on the logistical challenges associated with protecting personnel at such a remote location. Again, it's at 9,200 feet on Sacramento Peak. The most population that is supposed to be there year-round is 70. It overlooks the vast and important White Sands Missile Range and further the Holloman Air Force Base. And it continues, quote, and the need for expeditious response, that means quick, fast, and effective, for expeditious response to the potential threat. Aura determined that moving the small number of on-site staff and residents off the mountain was the most prudent and effective action to ensure their safety. In light of recent developments in the investigation, we have determined there is no risk to staff, and Sunspot Solar Observatory is transitioning back to regular operations as of September 17th. Given the significant amount of publicity the temporary closure has generated and the consequent expectation of an unusual number of visitors to the site, we are temporarily engaging a security service while the facility returns to a normal working environment. Well, here, Jimmy, my question would be, why didn't Aura and the National Science Foundation and the University of New Mexico State University, why didn't they say all of this back on September 6th?
That's right. That's right. That's one of the biggest questions of all.
Exactly. And they've had 12 days to figure out this press release while all of these click money operations, 800 UFOs parked around the sun, 6 solar observatories, more closing down around the world because something that it was crazy. And actually, to credible journalists who work hard trying to get the pressure of fact, that is really irritating. It's angering because what's happening now, this story proves it, that we have entered an age. I think of it now that the web, once upon a time, was really helpful in research. It's now being manipulated politically and every other way, sort of like a cesspool that when you get into it, you have to work overtime just trying to find out what is fact on the web, because so much of it now is abused, misused, and manipulated to generate money through clicks on sensational titles that have absolutely no vetting, nothing behind them. And one of the shocking, I'm going to say, promoters of the idea that solar observatories would be closed down around the world to keep the world from seeing something on the sun, completely irrational. But that was pushed by the Drudge Report. There was no vetting, no investigation. It was rip and paste, just put up stuff And then Drudge would have the influence of multiplying the number of people who would be then, assuming that observatories were being closed down around the planet. Did it have something to do with 800 UFOs parked by? I mean, it was crazy. It was insane. It was frustrating. And at Earth Files on the 12th, because I do my Earth Files YouTube channel live report every Wednesday night, I was able to, with the help of Peter Levenda's research, to post the same named observatories that have been on Drudge and at other websites with the comments that anybody could go to. Any website with any solar observatory or any telescope, you can do that yourself. You can type in a search, you can put in a title, you can read about the status of the observatory, which is what Peter did, and then I put it together saying, here, there's nothing, there's none of these observatories that are down, and this then was where the tide began turning from what I was seeing. Audiences and people started sending me hundreds of emails saying, thank you for bringing some pressure of fact to this story. And as of today, we far exceeded 100,000 views, and I'm grateful because it means that not all is lost. If you do try to do investigation and you do try to report hard fact, even if we don't have the answer to what exactly this criminal activity is that the FBI closed this down, we at least have been able to eliminate that there was no population of solar observatories around the world that were closed down, that there were no objects around the sun. That was being done by people who were using Photoshop and all kinds of crazy things to generate those click monies. And so what are we left with tonight on the 17th of September, on Monday, 12 full days later? We are left with this press release, which ends with this paragraph. Quote, we recognize that the lack of communications while the facility was vacated was concerning and frustrating for some. However, our desire to provide additional information had to be balanced against the risk that if spread at the time, the news would alert the suspect and impede the law enforcement investigation. That was a risk we could not take, close quote. And in that last paragraph, it's like they almost pull the rug out from under everything else preceding. They are basically saying that whatever this is, with a suspect, criminal activity, it has still not been explained at any level. What is this criminal activity?
Well, I have news on that. I have news on that. So okay. I'll help you out on that right now. But you bring up one of the craziest points about this press release here. How are they trying to keep this quiet from the suspect with frigging Black Hawk helicopters and the FBI and an evacuation?
And a sheriff
right,
who puts out the kind of press release that he did that then caught everybody when that sheriff, who is a credible guy, was frustrated. And that meant that everybody else in the media, myself included, says something weird is going on here. And then why didn't NSF, why didn't Aura step up to the plate exactly then and explain? And this press release, even though it's better, Jimmy, it is frustrating because lacking. It makes it sound so serious and it doesn't explain anything.
Okay, so this is what I've got. This is breaking right before the show. Is that there was $15,000 worth of communication equipment that was stolen up there from one of the employees and was taken out into the market. It was not computer equipment, but it was very specific communication equipment. Now, there's that part of it, and that this specific person that was doing this theft was doing this for quite a while, and it was easy to steal gear from up there and turn around and sell it for profit. So there's that part. Now that let's stop for a second, Linda, and suppose that this is actually what happened. Then why the evacuation and why the silence? Why not arrest this guy and not freak out, half of the planet like they did? And then there was one.
Yes, and Jimmy, just to reinforce and drive the nail home, stolen equipment already after the fact would not justify the FBI coming in, closing down, and evacuating. Evacuating makes the bomb threat idea possibly as part of this story for real.
Yeah, it's a cover story, no doubt. We're going to find out, hopefully, eventually, what actually went on. But we all know by the way that they handled it with the sheriff, and with the evacuation and the dead silence with the media, that we didn't know if it was environmental, Linda. We didn't know if there was a threat to the community or to the wildlife. Was there some kind of radiation leak? We didn't know anything, right? Or was it E.T., right? We didn't know anything. Right. But
there were, in the past week, UFO reports over Mount Taylor. That's that's going toward the Roswell region. And if you say that Sacramento Peak overlooks White Sands, Holloman, in that general area that historically, for at least 70 years, has had some association with UFOs, you can see that any headline about the observatory being closed down without explanation, that you're going to have a percentage that are going to jump to that, which then went wild with the jerry-rigged photos or images that were phony having to do with UFOs. And it just shows you, if it was stealing equipment and selling it, it still does not explain the evacuation, taking everybody out, and having security there today. Why would it still be weird? I talked with, he asked me to call him Paul M. You know him?
Yep.
He is a drone pilot.
Yep.
He was good enough to go there today, and I made some notes about some of the things that he had to say. It's very interesting, and here is one of the most interesting of all. Some people appear, he talked with them, appear to have been silenced by NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. He spoke to a solar observatory visitor this afternoon, off the record, who said they had signed a non-disclosure form and that they were compensated enough money where they would not want to talk.
Let's take a break right here. We've got more to talk about, and I know that you've seen the footage. Paul and Ransom sent me the drone footage that they just shot, and I looked at that. We'll talk about that when we come back. This is, what's funny as I roll into the music here, Linda, this is a story that is now permanently cemented into the UFO community forever. I mean, this is something we're going to go back and discuss for a very long time.
But it has nothing to do.
They blew it. Right. They completely blew it, and we've got something to talk about. In 10 years, you and I are going to have dinner and talk about the National Solar Observatory. Our guest tonight, Linda Moulton Howe, will pick up where we left off. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. More with Linda after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Folks, this is very important information. What's to be said about CBD? AncientLifeOil.com. Our CBD is made from hemp and has 0.003 THC, which means this wonderful product won't get you high, no matter what amount you take. What does CBD do for the body? My hands are tied, but you can Google CBD benefits and be astounded. When you're finished reading, you'll want to log on to ancientlifeoil.com. That's ancientlifeoil.com and purchase. Life is good when you feel good. People are tired of pain. People are asking for non-GMO organic products to help them with you fill in the blank. Legal in 49 states, and again, our CBD is made from hemp. Ancient Life Oil is about helping people one by one by one. If you wonder how good the product is, the CEO takes it every day without miss. AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Have a great day.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
Reclaim your active lifestyle with Angioprim. Angioprim is the original liquid oral chelation supplement. Chelation helps remove toxins, heavy metals, and cholesterol in your veins and arteries that can cause blockages. Scientific research proves the active ingredient in Angioprim has superior oral chelation action that helps promote cardiovascular health. Find out more. Go to angioprim.com. Talk to a trained consultant by calling Angioprim toll-free 877-882-7221.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hey, it's Grace. Can we talk about something serious for a minute? Your age. Getting old has its perks. But remember, being a few years younger, you know, your hair was thicker, you didn't have so many wrinkles, that extra weight wasn't haunting you, and you just felt better. Well, we can't turn back the clocks and go back 10 or 15 years, but you can start feeling and looking 10 or 15 years younger with Nature's Youth RSF. It's a doctor-formulated daily supplement that helps your body maintain its peak performance and fight the aging process. Imagine sleeping better, looking better, and feeling better. See how Nature's Youth RSF has helped thousands of people just like you at nature'syouth.com. nature'syouth.com. Imagine how it will feel when your family and friends are asking you what you did to look so good. Your secret will be Nature's Youth RSF. It's time to start looking better and feeling better. Learn more and order your Nature's Youth RSF at nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com. That's nature'syouth.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only use night vision goggles from Bearing Optics. You can see your very own green chrome balls today by clicking on their banner at jimmychurchradio.com.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Linda Moulton Howe. We're going to talk about a lot tonight, but right now we're discussing the closure of the National Solar Observatory in Sunspot, New Mexico. And Linda, okay, now a couple of things. I want your thoughts here. A couple of really interesting things stand out for me. As you know, Ransom Godwin went up there and took a walkthrough and shot this video. I interviewed Ransom last week, and what he experienced and went through up there, all interesting. 3 points. Number one, when he pulled up to the police tape, the sheriff, the Otero County Sheriff was there, and just said, "Yo, what's up?" and split. Left him at the gate to walk onto the property. Now, that right there, I don't know what the answers are, but I don't know about you, but a sheriff has never let me get away with stuff, right? Okay, so that...
Right.
Okay,
right.
there's...
okay.
Okay, hold on. We'll come back to that. I'm going to give you my 3 points. The second one that I thought was extremely interesting was that the workshop for the cars up there and the trucks, the garage doors were left open, and all of the tools and the mechanic stuff were all left out in the open. Anybody could have gone in and vandalized it. That I found strange. The third thing was they boarded up all of the windows of the houses like they were expecting a hurricane. That was strange. And then the fourth thing that I just find trippy as all get out is that he saw, and it's on videotape, on top of one of the trash cans in the sanitized hallway that was just mopped and cleaned up and the windows clean, on the top of the trash can is an X-Files DVD. Now, wait, if you're not trying to mess with the public's mind, none of those four things right there don't make any sense. If the FBI is going to go up there and evacuate and then turn around and allow all of this to go down...
And the contradiction between having garages open, because that's what Paul M. also, he told me.
Yeah, Paul was there. He was there.
And Paul is a friend of Ransom's. Mm-hmm. And Paul was there today and called and talked to me this afternoon, like at 3 p.m., not that long ago. And he said, I noticed that the residential streets, the houses, all the windows, they're still boarded up, and that they had put orange cones, like orange coning off the residential houses with all of the wood still boarding up the windows, as you said, like you would do for a hurricane. And that the garages, if the garages are open to the world during a period of time when nobody is there, that contradicts the idea that they had $15,000 in computer equipment that was stolen from the observatory. None of this is making any logical sense. And I heard about that. Paul M. And Ransom said that they didn't know whether to laugh or to think that somebody was trying to send a signal that the X-Files DVD was on top of an open trash can. Well, if any of this can be looked at and tried to be analyzed, given the fact that today Paul M. said it was still barren, empty, still like a ghost town, outside of the fact that there were some people in the Solar Observatory. He walked in, he saw them, he said nobody looked happy, everybody was frowning. One security female guard came up to him and said, "May I answer your questions?" And when he said, "Yeah, what has happened here? Why?" They said, "We cannot make comment." So nothing really has changed, and this is highlighting the fact that if the windows are boarded up, that they've added orange cones to separate out the residential area. If the trash can or the garage are open, that anybody could walk in and take that kind of equipment. Where is the security that you would think would be operational at this observatory if $15,000 of computer equipment had been stolen, and they are now concerned about the vulnerability of the observatory?
Yeah, now see this, Linda. You've been doing this for a long time. You've been doing some of the most effective journalism and research, not only for our community, but in any genre of journalism. And when you hear all of this, how many red flags are just throwing up here for you to go, well, wait a minute, somebody's yanking our chain here. We're just not getting the straight story.
We're not getting the straight story. And one that sort of crept in around September 12th, kind of on the edges of things, meaning there was an email here, you probably said nothing coherent, but it was suggesting that the FBI may have been called in because there was a Chinese spy that was working in the observatory, and that they learned that computer equipment had been turned into observation for the Chinese government of White Sands and Holloman. Well, that is not proven. I'm saying those are the kinds of around the edges of the story crept in the possibility of international espionage, and why I think it's worth bringing up, even though nothing has been proven, is that when you consider the fact that the Solar Observatory and White Sands and Holloman Air Force Base, we do get international scientists, we get international people and military that come into these sensitive areas. The possibility that something like the observatory at 9,200 feet could have been hacked into or turned into some kind of an observation post so that they could keep track of something at White Sands and Holloman, that is another area that there hasn't been much discussion about. But it might be closer to a real truth, and look at how sensitive our government is to the idea of any international espionage now because of all the Soviet stuff. So I'm laying that out there not as any other thing but to say we have not had anybody explain to us what possible international sabotage could that observatory be misused because it is up above such sensitive military areas. And so that's a question mark that hangs out there. And yet that would not explain how garages would be left open that anybody could walk into while they boarded up windows and they're putting orange cones at the houses.
Yeah, and to do all of that and just put up some simple police tape, and then anybody that wanted to drive up the road and walk onto the property could do so. It's a contradiction. It's a paradox, actually. It's like a real paradox.
It is.
And it's okay. Now, let's explore a couple of other ideas here. One of them that you have been covering along with myself for a while now are fast radio bursts. Two days before the raid, the big announcement came about the repeater, right? The repeater FSB. That pops out. Then there was some rumors the day before of the closure that I was following up with was that SETI was involved with their, along with the other scientific crew with the fast repeater, were all tied into these observatories in New Mexico. Is there a possibility, Linda, that this observatory or shared information with another observatory about picking up and detecting something?
Well, I don't know about the last question, but I know a lot about the first question. The fast radio bursts is a story that has been developing and evolving for a decade, not before. And that it's in the last year that I did an interview with Avi Loeb. He is the chairman of the astronomy department of Harvard University. He is on the board of directors for Starshot. Starshot is this very exciting project. I've done a lot of work about this at Earth Files. Everything I'm saying now, anybody who would like to get in depth, you just go to www.earthfiles.com. In the search, you type in fast radio bursts, and you will see the many reports I have done about that. Type in Starshot. It's usually all caps, STARSHOT. I've done a lot of work on that. Starshot was funded about 2 years ago by the Russian billionaire who now lives in San Jose, and he, working with Harvard, working with other astronomy departments, their idea boils down to this: can we get lasers put together in a bank that would be the propulsion system for small craft? 2 or 3 years ago, they were calling them wafer, W-A-F-E-R, wafer craft. Think of your iPhone. Imagine that we are now going to start moving into outer space in Starshot by projecting iPhones at, say, 20%, 30% the speed of light, by the propulsion of lasers, light pushing at those iPhones that will be protected by a small shield. And the big idea is that maybe in 2 years, maybe 3 years, we will start one. There's a question about whether we're going to launch from the Earth or from the Moon. If we can get a launch facility up on the Moon, we're not fighting atmosphere, but we would have to get a facility on the Moon, so it may be the launch will be from Earth through the atmosphere first. Whatever happens, here's the goal. If they can get one of these, we'll call them the iPhone-type wafercraft going at 20% the speed of light, and then in a few months they do one at 30%, and then next year maybe 40%, and that they start getting a whole bunch of these small craft being propelled by laser light going at these percentages of the speed of light toward Alpha Centauri. Alpha Centauri is 4 light years from Earth going full tilt 186,000 miles a second. So if you're going 30% or 50%, let's take 50%, it's easier to calculate. So you would add another 2 years, so you might be able to get to Alpha Centauri in 7 years, and then you might be able to get photographs and then send them back to Earth if you could go 50% the speed of light. And the whole idea is that we're getting away from any kind of hydrocarbon propulsion, heavy tanks. This would be light. Now, Avi Loeb is working hard on Starshot, and I did a long interview with him that is at Earth Files. You can still hear the MP3. It's a fascinating interview just within the past year. And he prepared a paper after analysis of up to, I think, to the 27th fast radio burst. And in his paper, as the chair of the Department of Astronomy at Harvard, he proposes that we consider this as the hypothesis for fast radio bursts, that they are the first evidence of light speed transport in our universe. The location is 3 billion light years from Earth in a small galaxy. A single galaxy is where some of these repeaters have been. So when you read the paper that Avi Loeb did as the chair of the astronomy department, and you listen to that interview that I did with him at earthfiles.com, you realize that whether or not we as a world human family have understood what's happening, the universities of this planet, the advanced astrophysicists of this planet, they are already contemplating, working on plans. How do we get off planet Earth? How do we find exoplanets that might be able to support life? Mars is going to be a project. Maybe Elon Musk will manage it. But we are already, with large money, large universities, large concepts, we are looking at ways that we can get off this planet and discover other places. And that becomes the exciting atmosphere in which fast radio bursts are now being discussed as the context that they themselves might be proof of advanced intelligence in this universe, 3 billion light years away, and that's through Harvard.
Do you think that because of, and it reminds me of the movie Contact, right? This is almost exactly how we would expect it to play out if it actually happened, right? I'm talking about the National Solar Observatory and the feds coming in and shutting it down. Yeah. Do you think that all of these observatories around the world, all these astronomers know each other? They all communicate. When they see something, whether it's some supernova or they contact their friends to confirm what they are seeing, lock in on this. What do you think? Is this what it is? Is this a black hole eating another black hole? Whatever, right? Do you think that there is the possibility that they were communicating about a fast radio burst and what was going down this week, and maybe the feds had to go in and sanitize this place and then just use some crazy cover story, and that they went in and removed any evidence of any communication?
Well, here's the problem with that hypothesis. There is absolutely no indication of a threat of any kind. The fast radio bursts last less than, this is hard to believe, They last less than 1/2 of a second, but the energy from these 3 billion light years away is equivalent to 500 million of our suns. This is where the very first data, as scientists just couldn't believe what they were looking at. And there was one paper that was presented about how a fast radio burst in less than half a second emitted the amount of energy of 500 million of our suns, and there was no afterglow. That's just incomprehensible.
Right.
How could there be any kind of an energy surge like that in half a second and no afterglow, no heat signature, nothing left over? Well, depending upon what this advanced technology is, which is what caught the attention of Avi Loeb and others, that's why he put together this wonderful paper to read on the hypothesis that this could be the very first evidence of light speed technology operating in such a way that we expect afterglows. We expect that much energy would take something so massive to produce. Well, it does take massive amounts to produce. But we're thinking in terms of Earth.
Right.
We're not thinking in terms of what's out there, and that's what's so exciting about the fast radio burst research right now.
Now, ultimately, what do you think, if you were going to take a crack at this, journalist friend of mine, why did they close down the National Solar Observatory?
Well, I think at this point that we've heard pieces, but nobody has told us the real heart. And that would be the pattern is the sheriff was deliberately left out. The FBI, it was in charge right from the beginning, and their jurisdiction would be national security. National security could involve international, or it could be spies or national, or it could have to do with some kind of theft, as you pointed out. But the theft might be the coverage for something like that more insidious story of equipment at the Solar Observatory being hacked or used by a foreign country to monitor and watch White Sands and Holloman Air Force Base. Something that has not been reported is my guess, is what we're going to learn, and that it may have to do with international sabotage or that bomb threat. Those 2 emails that I said nothing proved, but they did come early on, and they came from 2 people independently who either had somebody living there or knew people who were living there at the Solar Observatory. That's where those 2 emails came, including one about a bomb threat. So somewhere between bomb threat and some international misuse, perhaps, of equipment that might tie into your story but would not be the bottom line. I do not think this is over yet. I do not think we've heard the end of this.
Nope.
And if you took the whole big enchilada of the last 12 days and you said, what is the single most significant thing? I'm sorry, I'm allergic to juniper, and juniper is really bad right now in September. It would be that a federal authority like the National Science Foundation and Aura in Washington, D.C., would not have been smarter about their very first press release to the media and to the world.
I know. And if you are an employee up there, let's say Linda Moulton Howe's living in one of those houses with your husband and maybe even a child and a dog, right? And they're going to come to you and say, you got to pack up and you got to leave this afternoon. You better have a good reason, federal agency or not.
And what Paul M. learned today that I talked about, that if somebody has been paying good money that was supposed to be money high enough that you're not going to argue about signing a non-disclosure agreement, quote, this is directly from Paul, they had signed a non-disclosure form and said they were compensated enough money where they would not want to talk. Now, what is behind feds doing that?
I don't know. And this is the other thing, the bomb threat part or espionage. I would expect, and I've heard all of this, and so have you. I would expect the ATF to be involved if there's explosives. I would expect the Department of Homeland Security to be up there with spies and espionage and computer hacking. That there would be, not to say that the FBI may not have the overall jurisdiction, but you're going to bring in if there's a bomb threat, I don't want the FBI up there. I want the ATF up there. I could be wrong, but as a resident up there, I would want to know that this is being handled correctly, and it just seems like it hasn't. And that's the part, the story doesn't wash.
Yeah, nothing yet has come into gel to focus, and that's why this is not over. And everybody listening to Jimmy, also do a stereo and listen to Earth Files when I'm going to be doing a report Wednesday night on what else I have learned from some people who are doing some tramping in the grass for me. And that between you, me, and maybe a couple of others, we're going to try to keep updating with the pressure of fact what is truly one of the strangest evolving 2-week stories I have ever encountered.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Let's take a break right here. And Linda, when we come back, if it's okay with you, let's take a dance around some of your other research, and we'll see where we end up. How's that sound?
Okay, sure.
It's always fun when you're here. Thank you so much for taking the time tonight, Linda, on this very, very busy week for all of us. Our guest tonight is Linda Moulton Howe. I am your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. We'll be right back. Stay with us.